Hello teachers and good afternoon and welcome to our session for today. No? Kaya, and magandang hapon po. And alam ko po that we are all just came from our work to our teachers who just traveled back no, at home. We hope that you're all safe and you are all doing well. No? Okay. So for today, and again, no, thank you for despite the busy schedule, we know that you are all working towards the end of the school year, and there's so many documents, so many things that you have to do, and yet you still have time to sit together with us no in order to further understand well, not only about Brightspace, but of course learning management system as a whole, that can elevate the learning process of our students, no? Especially that we are now once again transitioning back on to on-site and face-to-face education. Okay, so once again, welcome, and let me first do some greetings to our teachers who are in the chat, okay, and who are here live in our session for today, okay. And of course, we also like to greet those who will be doing a replay. As usual, our sessions can be replayed over and over again. You can simply visit our YouTube channel. So please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, okay, to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/c/Franco Aduno to be able to access our YouTube channel. Okay, so greetings to Pastor Manny Garcia, Teacher RM Anna Lizelle, Teacher Dean Clifford Huame, Teacher Mark Alex Grueso, okay, and Teacher Lamberto Pilatan, Teacher Regina Rose Rigidor, Teacher Imelda Publico, Teacher Annie Rojas, Teacher Jesus Katangi, Teacher Maria Victoria Ramirez, Teacher Florence Caceres, Teacher Miss Clara Lim is in the chat now, one of the D2L's team, Miss Gemma Rivera, Miss Sir Coach Insaf Coach from Tunisia. Okay, so we also have viewers outside of the Philippines. Okay, Teacher Romel Rosita, Teacher Miss Janine, Miss May Baisa Versosa, we just met earlier for our event on Saturday. Teacher Lorami Banyola, Teacher Jean Eliana, Teacher Flor de Lin M. Ramirez, Teacher Leo Cel Villantes, Teacher JV Zarate, Teacher Marco R. Bolosan, Teacher Ricky Colema, Teacher Kari Dominic Abihuro, no, our graduating student teacher, Teacher Riza Sanggalang, and of course, Teacher Michelle Del Mundo. No? Napakaaga po ng mga teachers natin to our session for today. But again, welcome to all of you. No? And we have a really loaded session for all of us for today, which will be on supporting student learning through LMS and the Brightspace walkthrough. Just last session, last week, we actually talked about learning management system as a whole, advantages, benefits, and all the things that we need to know about LMS and what actually constitutes an actual LMS. Because again, as I've mentioned in our session last week, oftentimes LMS, the word LMS or the acronym LMS is being misused and abused by some platforms proclaiming that they are an LMS, but yet they lack certain elements of being an LMS. So we have clarified that already last week. Okay, and of course we introduced to you last week briefly about D2L, okay, and of course their learning management platform called Brightspace. But again, I think it's an injustice to call it an LMS because again, Brightspace is more than just an LMS, and that's one of the things we're going to try to discuss with you today, and also to show with you today, the power, the actual power and capabilities of Brightspace as something that's beyond an LMS. No? So there will be three parts for today's session. Okay, I'll be discussing first supporting student learning through LMS, and then we'll have a speaker from D2L's team, okay, to discuss with us the walkthrough into Brightspace. So we will now actually be able to see what Brightspace can bring to our schools. Okay, so if there are administrators, okay, of course, our teachers as well. Okay, please do take note. Okay, because you'll be seeing now what Brightspace is capable of. Okay, and of course, we'll be having a short introduction to further understand and to further get to know about D2L. Okay, we have the regional director for Asia in Asia for D2L. Okay, with us. Okay, doing that introduction into D2L. Okay, before we do that, okay, let me first talk about, no, with all of you, supporting student learning. Okay, so we should be clarified, no, and we should be clear about why we're choosing an LMS. Okay, and last week, no, when we discuss about LMS, no, we talk about the characteristics of an LMS, but at the very core of an LMS, or the selection of an LMS, we should all be clear that we're not doing it for like for popularity, or to increase maybe enrollment, or maybe to attract or to attract parents, no, to enroll their kids into our school. Well, of course, that's one of the things, no. Having a very good working and efficient LMS will actually be beneficial, no, to the students. But should we should always be clear about, when we're making a decision about choosing an LMS, it should always be about, because we want to support student learning. Okay, and that's where we're coming from. Okay, that's where we're D2L's Brightspace coming from, no, to be able to support student learning. So let's first talk about that, no. And before we have our speaker from D2L talking about Brightspace and how they can support learning, let's first talk about supporting student learning in the general context of course, no, the 21st century. Okay, so once again, I'm Franco Nicolo Piado, no, a Google for Education certified trainer, as well as the social media influencer from D2L, okay, in the Philippines. Okay, so let me first, as I mentioned, no, for those who don't know me yet, no, a very quick introduction. Okay, although I can see that we have a lot of familiar faces in our chat, familiar names in our chat right now. Okay, so again, I'm a faculty also. We are using as well, no, an LMS, no. So I have actually, I'm coming from two schools. Okay, so I have experience on using different elements. No, so I actually I'm actually completely immersed into three particular LMS, no, in my career. And of course, I'm also a lecturer at Ateneo de Manila University, which also is using a different LMS. Okay, and of course, founder of Kaagapay Teacher Support, and of course, a Google for Education certified trainer. So I'm also immersed, no, to the LMS of Google Workspace for education. Okay, so let's get into that first. Okay, let's now first talk about the digital natives. Okay, because one of the things that we are, when we choose about an LMS, is because we want to bring learning into the online platform. Okay, and that idea of bringing learning, no, into the online platform, because we realize, okay, that our students, no, in the 21st century, our 21st century learners, okay, are actually digital natives. Okay, that they exist in a period wherein digitalization, and digital transformation is very common. Okay, and these students, no, for us to be able to actually capture the attention of our students, okay, to be able to fully capture, no, their thinking process, okay, we also have to address these digital natives. But let's first demystify them, because the word digital natives is not always what we think about. Okay, so the first one is that the digital natives, no, are actually in relation to the digital world. Okay, so basically the 21st century, as we move into the 21st century, more technologies are being introduced. The internet was introduced. Okay, and that changed so many things in our yes, will be what do you call this? Um, we'll be talking about, no, the um, the transformation in the 21st century. Okay, but before maybe we continue, no, on talking about the digital world, no, of the 21st century. Okay, let's now first see, no, and get to know more about Brightspace as a learning platform, as a learning management system. Okay, so before I continue talking about supporting student learning, let's first welcome a member of or a representative from D2L. Okay, actually is the regional director for Asia at D2L. Okay, a global learning innovation technology company. At the pole position of the company's Asia operations. Um, Let us all welcome into our stream, Nick Houghton. Nick, welcome to our stream.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
you
much
there?
indeed.
Yes, Nick, welcome to Kaagapay Teacher Support, and of course, welcome to the Philippines.
Thank you indeed, Franco. It's great to be here, and good evening, good late afternoon to everybody who's just joining. And hopefully, you're making it into this session, having come back from your schools, and we look forward to spending a good hour with you. So, thanks for the invitation, Franco.
Yes, welcome, Nick, and I believe no, you have something for us to for us to get to know more about Brightspace, D2L's Brightspace. Okay.
Yes, I'm going to give you a short introduction on D2L and Brightspace, and I think then we're moving over to my colleague Husseini, who's going to be walking through the platform and showing you some of the features of the learning management system, Brightspace.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right, Nick. Thank you.
Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is I will try and share my screen. I'm not a
And
great
while
StreamYard user. Yeah, go
And
on.
while
Sorry.
Nick is sharing his screen, teachers, please be reminded that this is a certified session. All our live participants will be getting a certificate of participation. Okay, so please make sure to answer our evaluation link later on. Okay, and of course, if you have questions, insights, or anything that you'd like to add to our session, please feel free to use our chat. Now we'll be monitoring our chat for this afternoon.
Okay, so let's move on. I'm actually let's just take 10 minutes to talk a little bit about Brightspace and D2L, and I'm not going to share any slides because it's probably the wrong thing to do at this stage. But what I wanted to do was to just talk a little bit about D2L, its history, its past, where it came from, and how it got into what we do today. So D2L, or Desire to Learn, as we used to be called, was founded 23 years ago now in 1999. And it was founded by a gentleman called John Baker. And John is still very much our CEO. He's been with us since the start of founding the company. And John's background is quite interesting. Like all of you, he comes from and was included in a teaching background. His grandparents were educators. His parents are educators. And when he was in his third year of an engineering undergraduate degree at the University of Waterloo, which is just outside Toronto in Canada, he decided he wanted to found a company that would make a difference globally in education. And what he did, because he felt education was in his blood, obviously, and what he did was he founded Desire to Learn, or we call it now D2L, and it was founded with a very singular mission. And that mission is the same mission as we have today, which is to transform the way the world learns using the smart application of technology and doing it one learner or one student at a time. As you will all know, one size never fits all. So doing it one learner at a time. So 23 years later, we now have 15 million, in excess of 15 million learners on the Brightspace learning management platform. We're present in over 40 countries, and we have in excess of 1,000 customers, education customers, that's K-12, so schools, and also higher education, in excess of 1,000 customers around the world. We're very much a teaching and learning company since day one. So we put teaching and learning right at the top of what we do. Typically a learning management system company who's in the cloud, so what's called a SaaS-based software company, will say we're a SaaS-based software company and we do education. We're slightly different to that. We have a philosophical difference, which is we're very much a teaching and learning company. We happen to show what we do in a software platform. We put pedagogy first and we put technology second. Technology is very much an enabler, a way to enhance the pedagogical tools and activities that we build into the learning management platform Brightspace. We take notice and look out for the latest pedagogical styles and trends around the world, and then we use those trends and styles to add value and increase and enhance the different tools and activities that we have within the learning management system. We typically work with a number of analysts and organizations around the world that look out for the best learning management systems. We get involved in a number of awards. There's an organization called SIIA that produces a series of awards called the Cody Awards on an annual basis. 2019 and 2020, we were voted the best K-12 LMS in the world. 2021, we had a number of accolades, the best solution for students with special needs, which is a very important part of what we do. We work very hard on making sure that we are fully accessible and inclusive so that any student with any kind of background, with maybe some kind of a disability, can access the platform and maximize their opportunity for teaching and learning. We also got voted the best customer experience in education technology. And a third one we were awarded, which I think is a very relevant one given what we've just been through in the last 2 years, was the best remote learning partner in both K-12 and higher education. And I think that was a great accolade. We work with schools all over the world. We work with a lot of virtual schools in North America. As you probably know, if you know anything about the schools in North America, fully online is an important part of a lot of the K-12 schools in America. Basic education, we have over 60% market share of those schools. We also work with a lot of what we call blended schools. In other words, those that use the learning management platform to deliver both online and also support their face-to-face teaching. I guess probably the most interesting customer we have would be the New York City Department of Education. So all of their schools are using Brightspace, the Brightspace Learning Management Platform. The state of Ontario has in excess of 1 million students using Brightspace. So working with some very interesting customers. When we get closer to home, we work across the Asia Pacific region and across 7 countries within Asia Pacific. We work with around about 65 schools, both private and public, and that of course includes the Philippines. We're working with a number of schools at the moment, both private and public, in the Philippines. Just to kind of set up what you'll be seeing from Hosseini shortly as he goes through the platform with you, there are probably 6 areas why our customers today enjoy using Brightspace. And this is directly from them, of course. So the first is, and I think Franco alluded to it earlier, we really do focus very highly and heavily on the student experience. So we're trying to make sure with everything that we deliver within the learning management platform that there are exceptional student experiences and outcomes. And obviously, in order to do that, we have to build tools that teachers that you love. In other words, you are going to use because you're the ones who are going to be delivering the teaching to the students using the technology. So building tools that teachers love is a second area that we find from our customers, the reason why they like using Brightspace. The third one we would call equity for all students. So I mentioned it earlier on about accessibility and inclusion, the ability for all students to have access to the learning management system. It's all very well for a school to use technology to support their teaching and learning, but if it doesn't give an equitable access for all the students, then it's not going to work. The fourth one is to do with parents. Having parents involved in their children's learning, I think, is a very important part of their development through school. So, so making sure the technology creates the right and meaningful connection with the parents, so they have an involvement in understanding and seeing how their children are being able to learn. What kind of activities are they involved in? What kind of assignments are they doing? Etc., etc. So having the right kind of connections into the platform for parents and guardians, that's an important part of what we do. The next one, and the fifth one, if you like, is what we would call worry-free technology. So the last thing you want as a school, the last thing you want as a teacher, the last thing you want as an administrator is to have to worry about the technology. So giving students and teachers an outstanding mobile experience, for example, not having to worry as an administrator, about the technology because it's all cloud-based. Being able to get updates on the software on a very regular basis. We do it monthly, totally transparent to your being able to teach and use the latest version of the software. And of course, security. Security is always important when you're talking about technology. So we make sure we're very well secured, both internally from our software perspective and the cloud service provider we use called Amazon Web Services. And then finally, being much more of a partner than a vendor when we're working with a school. And that's important because for us, the journey starts when you start using Brightspace. And the objective is that it never ends. In other words, we're working with you constantly and continually to make sure that you're getting the maximum amount of benefit out of the platform, that all of the teachers are able to use it, because if all of the teachers use it, then all of the students will use it, and continually making sure that that is the case. And then I guess finally, an important component, particularly from a teacher's perspective, is to make sure that the platform or the software, the learning management system, works for everybody. In other words, if you're a teacher who's a first-time instructor that's never taught with an LMS before and is new to blended learning, you need a simple experience. You need something that you can get involved in very quickly. You need a nice graphical user experience. You need the ability to upload your templates, your PDFs, etc., very simply and easily, so that you can then use the technology to enhance them. So from the first-time instructor to what I would call the power user, somebody who's taught fully online for a long time. Franco, maybe you're the power user, right? Uses advanced tools for blended learning, really wants to dig down into the depth of the learning management system. As I mentioned earlier, we've been building this platform for the last 23 years, so it has an enormous number of incredibly rich features that can really, really help and enhance the way in which you deliver your teaching and learning. So from the first-time instructor to the power user, we feel that we have a platform that works for everybody. So, Franco, that's really all I had to say. Let me pass it back to you. I hope you have a great experience with the presentation that Hosseini is about to give you. And I'm sure you'll enjoy learning about all the features and the great things you can do as a teacher with Brightspace as we go through the rest of the session. Thank you, Franco.
Thanks so much, Nick, for giving us more ideas about D2L and what we do. And again, I think one of the things that you like to emphasize with our teachers, and of course, those administrators who are watching right now, is the idea of partnership. And I think that's what's one of the best things that, one of the things that really separate Brightspace, D2L's Brightspace, to other LMS, because again, there's continued, consistent support all throughout. It's not just like it's not a one and done deal like other providers. Okay, so thank you, Nick, and we'll take it from here to give our teachers more ideas about how to support student learning through an LMS, and of course, through Brightspace. Okay, later on with Hosseini. Okay. Okay, so teachers, let's now again. No, I think we have a pretty much good idea about what Brightspace is as a learning management system. Okay, and again, we'll find out more about that later on as we have a walkthrough on Brightspace. Okay, before we do that, let's first again discuss and talk about exactly what is it about supporting student learning and why is it important for us to support student learning. And again, this LMS idea is all about this idea of digital world, okay? The digital transformation of education in the 21st century. While most of us maybe we're educated in a more traditional setup in the classroom, okay, we already also know that more and more the world is transitioning into the digital space, and that's also where education is headed, okay. So as educators, as teachers, that's also one of the things that we have to also look at. How do we bring education into the digital space, and how do we do that effectively and efficiently? Okay. So, as one of the things that we have to consider is that when we teach about when we teach our students, okay, we're also preparing them to this 21st century workplace. So we have to also understand that somehow down the road, in the next 10 or 20 years, okay, our students will be employed in a particular space, or employment space, and they have to survive that particular space. Okay, so how well have you prepared your students into that 21st century workplace? Okay, and of course, yet another aspect of the digital transformation of education, okay, and in relation to the digital natives, that more and more that the world now has becoming more complex. Okay, it's no longer like the 90s. It's so easy to do things, with the kinds of technology that we have. It's very simple now. It has become too complex, okay, including the knowledge that we have to process. Okay, just imagine about this, okay, when you think about knowledge, okay, and in your subject areas, okay, we have to also realize, okay, that no matter what you do, okay, there's really no single person, according to this, that can actually manage all the knowledge that there is in the world right now, okay, because of the rapid, consistent, and continuous and exponential growth of knowledge, okay. So now we're no longer just about knowing, okay. The digital transformation of education, and of course the 21st century education also begs us to bring a certain kind of depth when we approach education, okay. So that's how we also have to support, so when you think about LMS, when you think about supporting student learning, are you able to bring this much depth to your students? Okay. And in this case, how we have to start thinking now, that how these shifts change the educational landscapes, and how do we react and go about this? Okay, and couple of things, you have seen this already. The P21 framework that guides us, that it's no longer about knowing, as I mentioned. Okay, there are now like life career skills, information media technology skills, and even learning and innovation skills. So all of this had to be targeted, okay? So when we are choosing, for example, strategies, pedagogies, learning management systems, okay, for our school, we have to consider this, okay? Can our pedagogies, strategies, and of course, our LMS actually be able to deliver and target these particular aspects of the 21st century curriculum, okay? So, and of course, aside from that, many skills, we can also focus on the four key skills. Okay, so collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. Are these skills present in your strategies, in your learning designs, in your learning management systems? Okay, so something to once again to think about when we want to support student learning. Okay, let's just skip that one. Now, in the 21st century, you will encounter, when we will encounter the digital natives, okay, those students, okay, who were born in the age of technology, and we're talking about basically the Generation Z, okay, who are engaged, mostly in the digital space. No, these are the people who are in TikTok, who are in Facebook, who are in YouTube, who are in Instagram. Okay, so these are their spaces. Okay, and these are the kinds of students that we have to engage. Okay, so once again, we go back to the question, do your pedagogies, strategies learning management systems able to meet these digital natives, okay, and where they are, okay, because again, there's really no point pushing for a particular pedagogy or strategy or an LMS if these things, no, if you are not actually meeting the digital natives where they are, okay. But let's also not forget, no, okay, that being a digital native, okay, does not always mean being adept with technology. That's not always the case, okay. So our goal really is to transform our digital natives into digital citizens, okay. So as we go on supporting, okay, our yes, no, Sir Alfred, ang dami. Imagine the many things that as a teacher, no, we'll have to consider when you are designing, okay. Kaya nga, no, the very smart way to do about is that we have to look for that very good support, okay. So it would come with an LMS, okay. That's where it's coming from, Sir Alfred, no, because if you're actually going to think about this, if you are going to do this on our own, okay, it's actually going to be time consuming, confusing, and really difficult in most times, okay. But okay, with the right LMS, no, and of course the right support system for teachers, okay, students, and of course, as mentioned by Nick, even parents, okay, and administrators, we will be able to target all of these changes, no, in the 21st century, okay. So when we talk about these digital natives and these digital citizens, we're talking about individualized, personalized learning, okay. So it's a question once again: do your pedagogies, strategies, okay, and of course your learning management systems emphasize on individuality and personalized learning of your students, okay. So that's a big challenge, you know? So once again, I'm guiding everyone's thinking process, no, if we want to really truly support student learning, okay. Now, how are you then supposed to respond to this new context and thinking process? Okay, so now we know that we have digital natives, okay, that we exist in the digital world, okay, that education has been fully transformed into the digital space. No, how do we respond to this? Okay, and of course, the first thing that we can do is differentiated learning. Okay, so we can fully support student learning by providing them differences. No? And of course, there are different ways not to go about differentiated learning. We can make sure that it's dynamic, it's varied, it's engaged. Okay, so that's one of again, no, going back to our essential question: do your pedagogies, strategies, learning management systems provide a dynamic, varied, and engaging platform? Okay, and we also have to take note of the different learning styles in order to meet our students. Okay, we do not like pigeonhole them and provide a standardized approach. Okay, you can always look at the VARC model. We'll not discuss this today, but you can always look at the VARC model when you're thinking about how to differentiate your learning, your approach. Okay, visual, auditory, reading, and writing, and even kinesthetic. No, learners are always present in our 21st century classroom. Let's just skip that one. Okay, we can always do differentiation in content, in process, and output. Now, I will not flesh this out. I'm just letting you know, no, that there are many ways to support student learning. Okay, that's just one. Okay, and of course, we can always emphasize on the adaptive design for learning. This one was mentioned a little bit by Nick earlier. Okay, how D2L's Brightspace is a very adaptive platform that actually engages, and of course, no, in a way was designed, no, for the students. Okay, so at the very core of D2L's Brightspace is actually the students. Therefore, innovations, no, were built in order to fully support student learning. Okay, yes. Okay, so this is one is actually from Ateneo. No, this was presented, no, during the one of our encounters with Ateneo. Okay, so this basically talks about when you talk about adaptive design, no, okay, of learning, no, or ADL. Okay, and there are 5 key things that was mentioned in this framework: no, adaptability, active and interactive learning, the 3 C's of online learning, modularity, and of course, asynchronous versus synchronous learning. Okay, so these are some of the things that you can talk about. No, okay, adaptability of design and delivery, as mentioned by Nick earlier. Okay, how well, for example, if we're talking about LMS, okay, how well is your LMS adaptive in terms of its design to accommodate different kinds of performers. Okay, can they accommodate like low performers, mid performers, or high performers? Okay, or are we concentrated on a particular set of performers? Okay, in terms of like devices, okay, how well is your platform able to fully engage in different devices? Like if a student opens it in mobile device or in a tablet or in a computer or laptop, do they actually see the same thing? Okay, or is there some kind of exclusion along the way? Okay, is for example in the context of learning management system, are we talking? Are do we have an active and interactive learning happening within the platform? Okay, so it's something to always think about. Okay, and of course, no, the balance of the three C's on online learning. Okay, so when you talk about, for example, no, again, let's not veer away anymore. No, okay, let's focus more on the LMS. No, so if we're talking about LMS, do you actually have the presence of the content, the coach, and the community? Okay, so these are the key three C's, no, of online learning. Okay, so these are the things that you're looking for. Okay, so if you look at your particular learning management system, do they actually provide really good content, or can content be delivered in a very efficient way in the platform? Okay, is the coach, the facilitator, the teacher, the educator in the platform able to really design the learning process? And of course, can they engage with a community of learners? Okay, because that's very very important, because education remains to be a social endeavor. Okay, and of course, no, modularity. Can you actually develop modules within your learning management system? Because it has been already proven, it's already been tested, no, all throughout the pandemic, that modularity allows better chunking and therefore better consumption of information. Okay, so rather than like dumping an entire set of knowledge to our students, chunking them into modules actually help in terms of like retention and better understanding. And of course, better in terms of like synchronous and asynchronous modality, no? Okay, we're supposed to give more time for asynchronous learning rather than synchronous. Okay, that's actually should be, the balance between the two. Okay. Okay, we'll address that later on, no, Teacher Elgin Arms. No, that's actually a very very good question. Of course, we're down to our last one before I transfer the floor, to our speaker from D2L to walk us through into details that we think about digital education as well. Okay, so when we think about supporting student learning, we're also thinking about digital education, and that is all about the digital transformation of education. Okay, and that's where also LMS will be coming in. Okay, because learning management system is actually a way of transforming education. Okay, that you are now bringing education into the digital space. Okay, that's one thing that we can Okay, so that's one thing that we have, no, that we can that actually, connects the LMS into the idea of digital transformation. Okay, now when you talk about digital transformation, we're basically talking about a couple of things, no, people, process, and tools. Okay, so in the context once again, no, of a learning management system, when you talk about learning management system, you also have to talk about people. Okay, how people can be helped, okay, or assisted by the learning management system. Okay, as mentioned by Nick earlier, do you involve all your stakeholders, the parents, administrators, students, and teachers? Okay, or are they limited to certain stakeholders? Okay, because that's going to be not really an inclusive system. Okay, and of course, processes. Your LMS is supposed to change processes. Okay, automate certain processes, and of course, it should be equipped with tools in order to actually facilitate and design the learning process. Okay. So, as I end, no, my short introduction on supporting student learning before I move, no, and give the floor to our speaker from D2L to walk us through in Brightspace, no, is that as mentioned, as we always talk about it, teachers, okay, as educators, the more we know about who we teach, and the more effective we will be at what we teach. Okay, so always be have our students know at the core of how we design the learning process. Okay, so taking time to get to know your students isn't fluff time; it's academic time, according to Dr. Justin Tart. Okay, so that now brings us to the idea, on exactly how LMS can actually support student learning. Okay, and to better understand though and to see actually how an LMS becomes a game changer when it comes to supporting student learning. Okay, let's now jump into Brightspace walkthrough, okay, D2L's LMS or learning management system called Brightspace. And of course, we have no a very capable no and a very an expert no in Brightspace no, okay, one of the I think one of the developers no, okay, of Brightspace, okay, who will be walking us through into Brightspace. So let's welcome, okay, into our stream for today, Husseini Otman. Okay, Husseini, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Franco. How are you doing?
Doing well. Okay. So
Good.
I have laid the foundation, Husseini, on student learning. Okay, and we're excited to find out exactly how an LMS, okay, can actually support student learning, and we're excited to know more about Brightspace. Okay, so we can go in and see for ourselves know what Brightspace can bring to the different schools. Okay,
Sure.
and
Thanks. Just pull up my screen if you can.
okay, I'm now putting it in our stream.
All right.
Saini? Okay, so you have the floor now, Saini. I'll be in the background. I'll be engaging our teachers in the chat.
All right. Sure. Thanks, Franco. So again, really warm welcome to all of you. I'm really excited to be here and to meet all the teachers in the Philippines and the Kagape teacher support. Yeah, my name is Husaini. I'm a solutions engineer with D2L. So really, today I really want to share with you what Brightspace Learning Management System is all about. And of course, our tagline today is supporting student learning. All right. Uh, just to give a summary of what I'll be covering, a little bit on the overview of our platform, the look and feel, the how to navigate to different areas, as well as of course the student experience, right? But before that, before the students learn and engage with the usage of Brightspace, we want to have the experience of the teacher, how they can easily curate their content, how they can put in different files and use all the different features and tools within Brightspace. All right. So, as Nick had mentioned earlier, one of the things is that Brightspace is on AWS, so it's a SaaS solution, software as a service. So AWS are really short for Amazon Web Service. It's really to ensure that our customers receive an exceptional end-to-end uptime, in terms of reliability as well as security. And secondly, as you know, technologies out there right now, even YouTube or Netflix, all right, there will always be an update that needs to be pushed down. So again, with Brightspace, we use the model called continuous delivery. So you get the latest updates delivered monthly with near zero downtime. So it includes dozens of new features to make the teaching and learning experience even better, right? So for today's demonstration, I'll be using Kaagape Teacher Support as the organization, or as the school you may want to call it. All right. So as I go along in the demo, I know all your teachers here are coming from different schools. Just think of it as how will your brand look like using Brightspace. How will your announcements that you typically put out to your students, or the courses that you're delivering, how can it be replicated into Brightspace, right? So right off the bat, you can see that I've branded this to look like Agape Teacher Support with all the logo, the banner, and also the color scheme, right? Uh, you can see that it's cleanly designed, so it's not cluttered or old in any way. Right? We don't want our students to come in and see a very cluttered system, so we want it to be clean and minimalistic in that sense. All right. And at the same time, at the top here, if you can see, I'm enrolled as a Hussaini teacher, or it's a profile of a Hussaini teacher. All right. So at the mini bar, where we call it, we can have the course selector. Can always jump to this course selector wherever you're at in the platform to go to your courses that you are enrolled to quickly. Also, you have areas like the updates, or whether you have messaging alerts, or whether you have any course updates alerts here, all can be identified and be notified to you. Underneath it, we have the navigation bar. As we know, not all institutions have the same requirement. All right, some would want to add additional links to the navigation bar. All right, so over here I have a live at KTS. So you can neatly tuck in all your important links that you want your students or your users to have, all right, neatly into the navigation bar. So it's highly customizable in that sense. So as we go downwards, Brightspace centralized with the use of widgets, right? So platforms such as Facebook already using widgets, right? Where different posts have different widgets and such. Brightspace similarly, it makes the experience much more intuitive and friendlier to your users who are using for the first time. And you can see different areas or information that you can attend to, right? From my courses, all the courses that you are enrolled in, from the announcements that you want to put out to all your users in the site. All right, so I have a welcome to KTS announcements here. You can see this is the webinar for our first session last week. I've put in barely from YouTube to incorporate in the announcement. And of course, an app that students love. Just a little bit on our app. Brightspace has a dedicated app to support students who love using the app, where they can get push notifications. They can access their course directly from their phone. And of course, last week's session, there's some question about offline content. So in terms of with the app, you can have some of your contents being available offline when there's no internet connection as well. All right. So as a teacher, I'll be given also the quick eval widget. So as the name suggests, it gives the teacher quick place to see all the assignment submission that needs to be evaluated. All right, can be assignment, can be a discussion forums that needs to be graded. All this can be found here across different courses, of course. All right, all the different courses that he's or she is teaching. All right. And at the same time, our widgets are all customizable. So you can add things like social feeds from your Facebook page or even from your Twitter page, right? So that students can interact and be socialized with all the upcoming news that's posted out directly from the social media. Of course, I'll be scrolling down to my uh, social feed here, today's session. At the same time, in schools, we have webinars that you want the students to attend to. You have live session. You can always put it in the calendar, right? And when you jump into this webinar or this calendar, you can see all the information can be neatly put out, right? The timing, the video or the web link, all can be put out into the calendar as well, right? So as I jump into one of the course, I can always go back to the home page or just quickly use the course selector and go to one of the course that I'll be doing the demo today, which is Introduction to Digital Learning. All right. So first and foremost, before I talk about the course homepage, I just want to mention that on this day and age, our learners wants to learn on the go when they are on the bus, right, through their mobile phone, right? Of course, all of us are always on our mobile phones nowadays, right? So in terms of mobile responsiveness, you can see that whether you use a tablet or mobile phone aspect ratio in that sense, you can see that the widgets are all, neatly aligned from top to bottom. There's no need to pinch and zoom in any way. Just have to scroll down, up and down to access all your contents. And the navigation bar have been turned into a hamburger icon right at the top left, where you can access all your tools here, right? So in this course, Introduction to Digital Learning, this is the course homepage. Of course, the navigation bar is now more of a course-specific tools given out to this teacher. All right, he has the ability to jump into assignments, quizzes, class progress, etc. And again, with the use of widgets, you can have your course announcements. Early on, we have the site-wide announcements. Now we have a more specific course announcements for the teacher to use and deliver announcements to the students. Right. So we have your content area with all the different topics, and we have things like activity feed widget. All right, so you can create kind of like a post to remind students of certain activity or certain session. All right, or you can always pin a post up directly on top if it's very important. All right, you can see here I even bring a content that directly into this activity feed so that the students will be very well aware on the activity that they need to attend to, right? And if you allow some kind of comment feedback, you can always allow comments. Where a little bit like a Facebook comments area where you can allow students to thank their professor, put in some important information for their peers as well to see, right? So of course we have things like awards such as badges and certificates to kind of gamify the whole experience of the learning for the students. All right, when they finish a certain content and they have passed a certain assessment, they will be given a badge in that sense. All right, so just jumping into the content area to see how we can allow this teacher to create new topics, new learning materials inside. Right. Immediately you see at the left hand side here, these are what we call units, right? Of course, a lot of you, a lot of your the teachers out there, you guys might be more familiar with the use of topics, or some of your teachings are by weeks. So this can be structured in that sense as well. Week 1, week 2, week 3, and you have all your learning materials inside those units, right? Can even add something like a lesson where you have a group of learning materials inside as well. All right. So creating of a new unit is really simple. Just click on the plus icon. I'll create a sample unit called resources here. I can make use of the availability dates that you want these units to be available, or I can simply just toggle visibility to on. All right. Can add in some description, and we click on save and close. So what I want to do now is to bring in some local files that I have, such as an image, a Word document, and a PDF into this resource area. So I just off my screen, I'm going to pull 3 files here. As you can see, as I hover over the unit, I'll just simply let go of my mouse, and those files will be uploaded immediately. All right. So the beauty of it is really those students or users don't need to download any third-party application or extension or plugins. All these files are rendered inline in Brightspace, right? And once you are happy with it, you can always reorder them by dragging the handle at the left to just reorder the topics arrangement in that sense, right? Of course, earlier we talked a little bit on adaptive learning, right? Adaptive learning, how we can release contents, how we can personalize a learning path to certain students, right? As we know, some students are slow learners, some students are fast learners, and we want to give additional resources to those students who are slow. We can make use of what we call release conditions. So for this unit resources, I want to create a release conditions for a quiz core. When they fail a certain quiz, I want to release these additional resources to a student. Those who pass can just continue on smoothly in their course. But of course, with the condition types, just to briefly mention, we have over 30 condition types, right? From group enrollment to awards earned, etc. All right, so it's pretty comprehensive. So just as an example here, I'll choose a quiz 1. Those students who score below 50% create this will allow those students who fail this quiz be given the option to look into the resources unit. All right. Of course, we can create multiple conditions types, and whether all must be met or only certain conditions must be met, right? So immediately you can see that there's a eye and a gear icon at the unit here. Okay. So with that, just want to briefly mention on some of the things that you can add. All right, we can pull resources from Google Drive. All right, if you're using Google Drive, you can pull those documents that you have into Brightspace. Again, it will all be rendered inline. All right, and at the same time, we have things like external tool activity, where all your applications that have the capability of LTI, learning tools interoperability, such as Zoom, H5P content, all those applications can be integrated with Brightspace as well. Right, of course, Microsoft Teams, and much more. And looking at create new, we want to have an area to do assignment, discussion, and quiz. Right. For now, I just want to bring your attention to our HTML document. I've created one over here called introduction, and let us edit this HTML document. So it's just an introduction of this professor who's teaching this course, right? So when you jump into the HTML document area or any area in Brightspace that you need to create content, you'll be greeted with this Brightspace editor, all right? So you can do a lot of things here. You can do word formatting, right? Bullet point, alignment, and you can also add images and cool stuff. So this button is literally called insert stuff. As you click on it, you can see that we can pull files from your computer. We can add video notes. We can add YouTube videos, all right, other links or embedded code inside this content area. Of course, video notes are very, I think, extremely useful for instructors who are doing a fully online course where there's not really much of face-to-face interaction. So it's good for doing a short introduction for your students who are coming in online, or maybe you want to put a 5-minute short lecture before they come to class next week, so that kind of a pedagogy of a flipped learning mode, right? So you can always do that. But secondly, I think a lot of teachers here would love is the use of our templates. So our templates here are professionally designed by our team at D2L, right? So with templates, we can make use and leverage rich, elegant templates to make your content much more richer in that sense, and also to standardize how you put out your content across different courses, right? So as you can see here, this is just a simple plain paragraph. Most of of you out there will just simply put a paragraph describing about yourself. How about we make use of the template? We have one template called Meet Your Facilitator. So as I pull this template into the content area, you can see we have beautiful headers, sub-headers, and the body of content. All right, we can always rename it, edit it, all right, just simply like that. Of course, we can always replace this image. And again, with the use of dragging and dropping, I can just pull this image of professor and add it to the content area. And for alternative text, for those who are not familiar with it, right? Our mission here in Brightspace or in D2L is really to reach every learner. Like Nick mentioned earlier, it's all about the accessibility, right? Providing those tools or features that allow students who need to use assistive technologies, right? Where they can use screen readers and these images will be read out to them properly. Right? So you can put like prof image. All right. So of course, in terms of our templates, it's all accessible in that sense, all right? When you talk about accessibility, you got to have a proper header, a proper subheader, a proper contrast of the color in the subheader as well. or bold, all these counts to the accessibility of our platform as well. Okay, so this is one example of our templates. So give a thumbs up if you like our templates in Brightspace. So as I move on, we're talking about assessments in Brightspace. There's things like assignment and a quiz, all right? So for assignment, I've just jumped into a different tab here. I've opened up one thing called final assignment. When a teacher create this, all right, you can create a name, can put a grid to it. Of course, you have this Brightspace editor again. You can put all your content here. At the same time, you want to have different submission types such as file, text, on paper, and observe in person. So I think file and text are pretty common out there, but really on paper and observe in person is really important to have those of you who are very traditional and have paper assignment that needs to be submitted. All right, or you have a practical lessons that you need to observe a student doing a certain skill set. All right, so we can bring this assignment into Brightspace, have it recorded, use the features such as rubrics to evaluate those submissions, and it will then account for your final course grade as well. All right, so that's for our assignment. And at the same time, we have quizzes. All right, in a quiz tool, you want to see a couple of things. Firstly, is the ability to create new different question types, right? From multiple choice, true and false, all the way to arithmetic, multi-short answer as well. Secondly, once you create all these question types, you want to have a place to store them. All right, a question library is an area where you can manage all your questions, so you don't have to recreate and use it for another time. You can just pull them down from the question library. All right, and thirdly, we have things like question pool, where you want to allow to give students a set number of questions randomly selected from a larger pool of questions. All of that can be done as well. So we have things like timing. You can do a time limit, of course, shuffling of quiz question. You can allow or restrict a number of attempts, right? Whether it's unlimited or just one attempt allowed, all that can be done as well. And for a quiz question, for example, this short description question, right? You want to have the ability to give feedback to the students, right? Automatic feedback. All right, so you have things like when they answer false, this is the false feedback. When you answer true, all right, you can write a feedback here. At the same time, you can have an overall feedback. So this really not elevates the experience for the students when they are taking the quiz later on. Okay, so with that, I will just jump quickly into the student experience. I'll just open up my browser here. All right, so I'm logging in as the Hussaini student, right, to the same course, Introduction to Digital Learning 101. You can see, of course, all the announcements, the content. He can see his progress so far in the course, how many topics that needs to be completed. You can always jump straight into those topics. You can click on the eye icon, somewhat like a tactile, where you can have a brief description of those units. All right, so this activity feeds, students can comment on the teacher post if it's allowed to. All right, but for the students, really, earlier we saw that the instructor have the quick eval widget, and for the students, they will be given the work to do widget. So it's an area for the students to quickly see what they need to attend to immediately. Right, so they have an upcoming assignment that is due soon. Okay. So as a student jump into the content area, so he will be seeing the units in a sequential method here. All right. So as you can see from top to bottom, he just have to complete it and can launch those units when he wants to go in. Can always jump to where he has left off previously. All right. So I'll just show you an example when he launched this first unit. he will be brought into the immersive learning experience. All right. So the focus here is for the students to um, take in the content. All right, don't be distracted by all the other buttons. So as you can see, all the other buttons have been removed. All right, so the page has been largely clean, and all he has is the content, the right button to go to the next activity, or the back button, previous activity. At the same time, he can open the sidebar to see the table of contents for those units. And a check mark is always useful for them to know whether they have completed these learning materials. All right. As we go to the next activity, you can see the template that we have created earlier, how elegant it looks like. All right. Rather than just a plain paragraph. And of course, you can introduce things like checklists, so they can kind of do some prerequisites if they need to. And with our video note that we talked about earlier, this is something that students can immediately see directly in Brightspace, where the instructor have made use of the video note to create a short welcome message. Of course, at the same time, you can see this closed captioning that has been created automatically, all right, by Brightspace. So we have the ability to create closed captioning automatically. Of course, your voice have to be clear, articulation has to be clear, but that's totally possible as well. All right. So as the student move on to do some of the assignments that's available, let's take a look at how the students can do this quiz. All right, you can see a summary of the quiz. You can start the quiz. And of course, he has the student's name, the number of attempts they attempted, the timing, and you have things like paging, right? You want to do a page 1, page 2, you can do so. You can see the number of quickly jump to different questions if he needs to, all right? At the same time, you can do things like section A, section B of a quiz as well. So I'm just gonna try to do this quiz here with you guys. All right, I'll just answer this as false, so we can see the kind of feedback that we have put in earlier. All right, this is MCQ question, multi-select, all right, short answer, and MCQ. So once they have done it, you can submit those quiz. So immediately you can set it up as an immediate feedback where students can experience what they have get it correct or wrong, and they can view the feedback as well. So again, just now earlier on we have put a false feedback. Try again on the next attempt, and a general feedback over here, and you can see the score. So once they've submitted the quiz, now they have assignments that they need to submit to. So you can do your instruction here. Students can just pull a file. So it's a file submission, and just drop a file directly into Brightspace. And of course, you can make use of the record button. So as we said, Brightspace is mobile responsive. So if you have a assignment that needs the students to record a certain video out in the class, they can always use their mobile phone, right? Hit on the record a video, use your video in your camera, use your camera in your handphone to record a video and submit those video directly into Brightspace. Okay, so for assignments as well, once the instructor have evaluated, later on we will see, all right? So I have an example here where you can students can jump into assignments area, see all the assignments that he have submitted or not submitted. You can always read on the submission feedback. So you can see this, the instructor have given some overall feedback right at the top. Of course, with the use of rubrics, it gives unbiased marking in terms of the level of criteria that they have achieved, right, for each different criterion. And of course the score. And with the use of our annotation, later on the instructor will use to annotate those assignment. Students can then jump in and view these feedbacks directly online, right? So you can see those annotations are being recorded and given to the students, and you can see all the comments given out by the instructor. Right. So before I move back to the instructor profile, let's just jump quickly into the class progress. So where you can allow the students to see how they are doing in their course, right? So they can view things like their grades. Of course, this page is not only available for the students, it's also available for the teachers as well, right? They can view their current grades, all the grades that they have achieved across different assessment, and they can view things like how many times they have visited the content. So this is particularly useful for the instructor, to see how authentic their learning is, right? Uh, are they visiting the learning materials enough? Are they spending enough time on a particular topic? All right. So all this information is really useful for the instructor to use and see whether the students are falling behind or not. Right. So with that, I'll just jump back quickly to the teacher experience. Assigning teacher over here. Right. As he goes back to his homepage, again the quick eval link here gives him the area where he needs to see all the things that he needs to evaluate. Okay. So again, it's all across different courses. So we understand teachers have different ways of marking. So one may wants to go by courses, by different activities. So this is a good view to look at. But another would just want to see what's the latest submission. All right. So you can always jump to the submission views, sort it by submission date, and you'll be able to see the latest submission by CJ Khan with 2 assignment. All right. So immediately you can click on the name and be brought into the inline grading area. All right. So again, you don't need to download all the submissions that have been uploaded by your students. You just have to click on it, and Brightspace will open up directly inline in the platform. So again, this is an area where you can annotate your assignments. You can do some drawings if you want to. All right. You can do text highlighter. And at the same time, of course, you can do things like, maybe a wrong note for the students to take note of here. All right. Something like this. Right. And as we can see just now, all these annotations are being given back to the students, not directly in the platform. Okay. So at the right hand side, it makes it easier for instructor to grade by rubrics. They just have to slide these buttons left or right. Whether they're using a mobile phone to grade your assignments, is really simple, right? And once that's done, the overall grade will be given, and you can add your feedback and record a video or audio even to the students, right? And you can click on publish. So that's the quick eval assignment grading. Last but not least, I just want to show you back in the course how you can leverage with the use of intelligent agents. All right. So when we jump into the class progress, all right, before we go into the agents to automate certain feedbacks, we have the list of your class participants and how they are accessing, how they are completing their course. All right. So this visualization gives a little bit on the statistics on the student progress and how they are achieving with color coded, visualization as well. So as we go into intelligent agents, this really is an area where you can automate email reminders. All right. So not only just reminders, you can give out additional resources that the students need to attend to, right, via email. Just think of it as a set of rules that you can create, where as and when the condition is triggered by those users, the email will be sent out automatically. All right. So one example here is if I have a login reminder. So there's really no time for the instructor to to see one by one who's not logging in and who's not attending their courses. Right. The system should be smart enough to identify those learners and give them a email reminders. Ask them to log in. You have activities that you need to complete. All right. So another example would be a personalized experience for those students who have passed a quiz. Give them a motivational message, right? Right. Of course, you can also give email reminders to those who have failed. Say that the resources topic have been made available for them to access and try again on your next attempt, something like that. All right. So, for example, quiz one pass here. They have identified one user, CJ Khan, have received an email, and the email looks something like this, right? Job well done on the quiz, CJ. Of course, if Hussaini is attending this quiz, the name will be Hussaini. So it is a replaceable name in that sense, right? So it really kind of promote and engage the learners to stay on and learn and engage with all the learning materials that's available in the course. All right. So I hope I've given you a sense of what Brightspace can do in terms of the different type of contents that can be put in, the students' experience as well. Of course, there's a lot more that I wish to share with you guys, but I think we have to connect on a different time. Brightspace offers things like parent and guardian portal. All right, whether you have upskilling processes for your institution, for your teachers, then it's professional development. We can introduce manager dashboard, and if your institution needs a platform, a storefront to promote your courses and have your users make payments to that, we have e-commerce, storefront as well in that sense to integrate with Brightspace. So a lot of things that can be done. So I just want to stop right here, taking any questions that you guys might have, and bring Franco back into the session.
Thank you, Saini, for that. And I think our teachers were amazed with the really good and interesting features of Brightspace. Actually, there are some questions already, Saini, from our audience, but I think this is addressed to me first. Okay, so let me first address some of the questions on my end. Okay, I think there's just a short feedback. I'll just turn off your microphone for a while. Okay, so of this one from teacher Elgin Armes. Okay, how can we ensure the authenticity of our students' learning came when we talk about authenticity, we're basically putting our assessments, our content and pedagogy and strategies, and the entire education vis-a-vis real life situations. So that's the only way we can actually test and we can actually fully assess the authenticity of our assessments, but we can always approximate. Okay, so when we think about assessments and we want to think about it being authentic, no, always think about real life situations. Okay, so when you teach, for example, a skill or a knowledge, okay, then think about if these skills and knowledge can actually be used in actual situations. Okay, that's why more and more, like for example, project-based learning strategies and frameworks are emerging because they promote about the use of real life situations. Okay, so that's how one way to ensure that our assessments are authentic. Okay, second is that if it's actually engaging our students to acquire the 21st century skills. Okay, that's also being authentic since they are being prepared not to again to real life situation, to the 21st century workplaces. Okay, this one is from teacher Alfred Saliva. Okay, what are some of your best practices for those students that have been left behind or the ones that are struggling? Okay, the first one that we do usually is to well, it depends on the severity of being left behind. Okay, say for example, if it's just like a lesson left behind in terms of like one lesson, we just simply give them like a catch-up module or a catch-up materials, okay, for them to be able to catch up with the lessons. Okay, on a more severe cases of being left behind, okay, we actually provide a one-to-one support. Okay, say for example, in our school, we do have an after class sessions, okay, or a what we call study periods, okay, to allow the students who are having a hard time to be able to catch up, okay. And of course, teacher Alfred, no, if you have identified students who might be prone to being left behind, okay, it would be important, it would be really great, no, to actually start to consider that at the start of the session, okay. So in a way, preempt them being left behind, okay. That's the reason why data from assessments, grades from previous grade levels are actually very important. Now, these are tools for us to be able to prepare better, to design learning process for our students with I don't know, with different kinds of students in mind. Okay. This one is from teacher Elgin Armes again. No? How can we also help teachers who really have difficulty using technology or LMS for their teaching? No? There are three key steps now that you can do. The first one is, of course, provide training sessions. Okay? Most of the time, teachers who doesn't want to use technology are oftentimes those that are have not really used it yet. No? Okay? So providing them support will actually encourage more use. Okay? And of course, if you really want your teachers to really try out and to dive into technology integration, then you'll have to um, make sure that it is integrated into your curriculum. Okay, so actually discuss on how technology can be integrated into your curriculums. Okay, and maybe the last one is to harbor champions of technology. Okay, it's always nice to have champions of technology in your schools. Okay, that encourages, no, that exemplifies models being technology integrators. Okay, this one is a question to you, for you, no, Husseini. This one is from teacher May Baiza Versosa. Okay. I am curious how well this LMS has considered inclusivity. Does it incorporate immersive reader, for example?
Yeah, really good question there. And then in terms of immersive reader, right? Where Nick talked about inclusivity of all the students, whether they needs a different ability to study. All right. So you can make use of our Brightspace editor, to change the font size, right? To do some background color or that the ability to code in the Brightspace editor is also there, so you can really change the way you want to put out your content to your users. Also, with the use of our templates, a lot of those templates are already um, inclusivity design in that sense, right? So we already take note of those spacing of those colors of those headers. There needs to be a bigger size or a smaller size. So these are all those things that Brightspace have considered uh, for your question. Hope that answers.
Thank you so much, Husseini. And I think, no, if I'm not mistaken, mentioned by Nick Houghton earlier, being awarded, no, for awarded for one of the best platforms for special education is a testament for inclusivity. Okay, so I think Teacher May, no, there's really not much of a problem, okay, when it comes to inclusivity with Brightspace. Okay, because again, you can customize, personalize, no, the platform to your school's needs. Okay, this one is once again, no, Husseini from teacher May Baisa Versosa. Okay. How safe is Brightspace for students? Okay. Is there a feature where students can collaborate or on tasks when within Brightspace, or they would have to work on a separate platform?
Yeah. So how safe it is for Brightspace? Really, I think Brightspace is definitely safe to use. Everybody's using different technologies right now. So in that sense, whether you want to be secure in terms of security wise, or your data are protected, or your personal details are protected in that sense. All right. At the same time, the use of collaboration tools such as discussion forums can be made use of, right, to allow collaborations among their peers, right? So we have also awards that can be given out um, to those students, and they can also see awards that other students are achieving, right? So they kind of like collaborate in that sense that they want to move up in the leaderboard in that sense. And at the same time, of course, we can have things like Google documents that can be pulled into Brightspace, right, to collaborate some work that needs to be done among different students. So a lot of ways. So I think I've covered some of it.
Thank you, Saini. And again, Teacher Me, no, don't forget that you can actually involve Google Drive, okay? And with that in itself, no, with the collaborative capabilities of Google Drive, okay, because of cloud computing, you can definitely have um, collaboration within Brightspace, okay? So there are no other questions anymore, Saini, no, and in our chat right now. Okay, so thank you so much, teachers, for all your questions. Okay, and for of course, no, joining us for today. But before we conclude, okay, our session for today, no, I would like first, no, to recognize, okay, and appreciate, no, our speaker for today, okay, Hussein Atman, no, for bringing us and walking us through Brightspace. With that, we'd like to present, Sini, a certificate of appreciation, okay, for you from Kaagapay Teacher Support. Okay, so this certificate of appreciation is awarded to Hosseini Otman for sharing his knowledge and expertise in the recently concluded webinar entitled, okay, Supporting Student Learning Through LMS Brightspace Walkthrough, awarded on June 8, 2022, with the duration of 2 hours to be signed, was signed, no, by the administrators of Kaagapay Teacher Support, Joseph Angelo M. Santos, Paolo May J. Mendoza, Angelo B. Malyari, and of course, no, yours truly, Franco Nicola P. Adun. The teachers, let's also send our appreciation and thanks to Saini, no, for joining us in today's session. Okay. So, Saini, I think that would be it for now. No, and teachers, no, look forward. No, we'll be bringing you more about Brightspace. No, as we further bring you deeper, no, into to understanding and appreciating Brightspace. Okay, so thank you so much, Husseini, and we'll see you around once again next time on our session. Okay, thank you also to Clara Lim, who
Thanks
are
for
in the
having
chat
me.
from our from D2L's team. Okay, thank you, Husseini.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to all the teachers here as well. Salamat po.
Yes, that's correct. Husseini. Mabuhay. Maraming salamat din. Okay, so teachers, maraming salamat na and thanks so much for joining us for today's session. Let's not forget na that this is just the second session that we're having for Brightspace series. Okay? On our next session, okay, next week, okay, we'll be doing on building online courses. Okay, so we'll be talking about what are the fundamental steps, okay, principles of creating courses for online use, and of course, we'll also be bringing you on how to create online courses via Brightspace. Okay, and of course, following that up with upgrading LMS with educational technology, I will be demonstrating some of the applications and of course the different technology, educational technology that you can integrate with Brightspace. And after that, we will be doing facilitating synchronous and asynchronous classes with Brightspace. How do we do that? And what are the considerations that we have to make? And we'll capping off, no, our Brightspace series with hybrid learning power up, okay, supporting learning modalities with Brightspace. Okay, so we'll be talking about, of course, no, as we transition into on-site, face-to-face, and combinations of modalities in the post-pandemic. Yes, no? Tinatawag ko na pong post-pandemic, no? I'm claiming it all for us na it's now the post-pandemic. Yan. Thank you, teachers. Okay, so now we're down to our evaluation link. No, please evaluate this session, okay, at https://tinyurl.com/D2L part 2, no? Spell the 2, okay? TWO, okay? So teachers, please do let me know if the link is working. That should immediately send you your certificates, okay? So please also do let me know if the certificates are correct, okay? If not, I'll be fixing that and I'll be doing something about it, okay? And of course, teachers, no, wag po natin kakalimutan. I also like to invite everyone, okay, for our to our first ever um, CPD accredited event. Yes, nagsimula na po tayong mag-provide ng CPD accredited events, no. That will be on June 28, 29, and 30 on Google Workspace, no, Google Certified Educators Training, okay? Accredited for 5 CPD points. And teachers, no, please do not forget, okay, that we do not ask for payments. Okay, so wala po kayong babayaran, no? Okay, so baka lang po biglang may mga third-party individuals o kaya groups na gumagamit ng events namin and asking for money. Please don't forget na wala pong binabayaran dapat ang mga teachers sa mga events ng Kaagapay Teachers Support. That's all for free, okay? Pagmamahal lang po ang puhunan ng mga events na yan. Okay, so wala po kayong dapat bayaran. Okay, and of course, we're also going to have our usual Saturday session starting this Saturday on June 11. Okay, that's going to be on school year anew. Okay, so we have 4 sessions, okay, on that until July 2. Okay, medyo nag-ano lang po, no? Tumagos lang hanggang July. And tuloy-tuloy na po tayo, no, ng mga CPD events natin in July, August hanggang September. Okay, we're actually going to be working with certain brands. Okay, we'll be working with a CPD event with ClassPoint, a CPD event with Microsoft Philippines. Okay, so abangan po natin yung mga CPD events na yan. So at the very minimum, teachers, no, at the very minimum, until September, we will have 2 CPD events, no, and guaranteed po lahat yan, no, ng at least 5 CPD points. Okay, we're working on events na mas mataas, mas mahaba para po we can actually have more CPD points, no, kasi please be reminded hanggang December 31, 2022 na lang po ang last time na makakapag-waive tayo ng ating mga CPD points. After which, we'll have to pay all the CPD points that you have waived for the last 2 years or 3 years. Okay? So kung 2 years yan, in your next application, you'll have to have 45 points, CPD points. Pero, again, sabi ko nga, dahil may monthly na tayo, sagot na namin yung 45 or 60 points na kailangan nyo po, teachers. Okay? So, again, please do invite your co-teachers, your schools, no, to subscribe to our YouTube channel and of course follow our page para ma-inform po sila sa ating mga events. Okay? For June, ang ating CPD events 1,000 slots lang. Pero in July, August, and September, we'll opening it for more slots. No, siguro we're looking at 3,000 to 5,000 slots per event. Okay? Para po mas maraming makinabang na teachers at wala nang babayarang CPD event ang mga teachers natin. Okay? So paalam po, teachers, and maraming salamat, no. Please stay safe kahit po medyo okay na yung ating situation in the pandemic, no. Please stay still safe, be safe, stay negative from COVID-19 but stay positive in life. Maraming salamat po. Paalam, teachers.